So today I'm going to go over Chapter 6, Social Studies. It's been a while since we did that, and I'm just going to kind of review some things with you. So if you remember, the Northwest Ordinance expanded the borders of the United States, was going past Ohio. The Articles of Confederation created a weak central government. You might be hearing a lot about the federal government and the state governments right now during this COVID-19 crisis because Trump is making some guidelines, but yet the states also get to make their own guidelines of what's open and what's closed, and so it's that power difference. Many citizens called for a convention to change the Articles of Confederation. Then, many delegates at the convention wanted to create a new constitution. They just thought the constitution kind of sucked and they wanted to start a new one. So the Great Compromise combined the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. And remember, those plans said one would give you delegates based on how many people lived in your state, and then another said that each state would get 2, so that the little states and the big states both got what they wanted. And they planned to create a legislative branch with 2 houses, so the Senate and the House of Representatives. House of Representatives is based on population. Senate is 2 per state. And remember, there was that whole thing called the 3/5 Compromise. Does a former slave or does a slave count in your population? The slaves don't, or the slave owners don't really think that they're people. They don't treat them like people, but yet they want them to count as people because it helps their population. So it's kind of like, you might have heard, double standard. The Constitution assigned powers to both the federal and the state governments. The Bill of Rights. Remember, we talked about the Preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, do ordain and establish this Constitution in the United States of America. That's the Preamble, and there's the 10 Bill of Rights. We talked a lot about the 10 Bill of Rights. I'm just going to kind of review them with you. Remember, the first one is freedom of religion, speech, the press, and right to assemble peacefully, and the right to disagree with the government. The second one is the right to bear firearms. That one's the one that's up for debate a lot. The third is you don't have to house soldiers during peacetime. The fourth is that you have to have, can't have your property searched for no reason. You have to have a search warrant. The fifth is that no one's life, liberty, or property can be taken away unless decided by the court. So you plead the fifth. The sixth is that you have a right to a trial by jury and a lawyer if you're in a criminal case. In a civil case, you get the right by a trial by jury. Eighth is that you can't have high bail or extraordinary punishments. Number 9, so it kind of talks about like the execution or the death row. That would be kind of a debate in that Bill of Rights. 9 asserts that people's rights are not limited to those in the Constitution, so you can have other rights. And number 10 says that all powers not stated by the federal government belong to the state and to the people. So those are those Bill of Rights. The Federalists defended the Constitution in its strong federal government. So Federalists, that'd be Alexander Hamilton. Anti-Federalists criticized the Constitution for taking away the power from the states. The Constitution was ratified after Federalists promised to add the Bill of Rights. The key concepts of the Constitution. The Preamble of the Constitution describes the purposes of the government. And I'll go through that again. National agencies help to carry out the goals in the Preamble, and amendments to the Constitution have allowed it to adapt and change its needs and ideas. So remember, some of them, like the drinking, that they had the prohibition, they got rid of drinking, then they added it. That would be one of those. Women being able to vote, African Americans being able to vote, the voting age lowered from 21 to 18. Those would all be different things that are amended. So I'm going to read the Constitution Preamble and kind of talk to you about it. So we, the people of the United States, so all the Americans, in order to form a more perfect union, so to form a better government, establish justice, which would be freedom, justice. Ensure domestic tranquility, meaning justice would be like things being fair. Ensure domestic tranquility, meaning we're not fighting amongst each other. Domestic would mean home. Provide for the common defense, which would be the army. Domestic tranquility would be peace. Provide for the common defense, protection. Promote the general welfare, so that's the well-being. So taking care of like think about like the food stamps. Right now, lots of people are applying for unemployment. That would be welfare, or welfare being well-being, the welfare of others. And secure the blessings of liberty, which would be the freedom part, to ourselves and our posterity. That means all of the people that come after us. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Some other things we're going to talk about. Why were many Americans satisfied with the Articles of Confederation? They thought that the state should have more power than the central government. Why did money cause confusion with the Articles of Confederation? Because remember, every state had their own money system. So right now, if I drive to Ohio or if I drive to California, I'm still using dollars. Back then, it would be different for every state. That kind of gets tricky, especially in Europe. A lot of them have the euro because they're so close together, but some would have different. Like if I go to England, it's pounds. If I go to France, it's euro, so that gets complicated. What was the effect of the Shays Rebellion? Remember, they realized we need a strong government because we need an army that can fight for us and support us. What did the Northwest Ordinance do for Native Americans? The ordinance said that Native Americans' lands would be protected, but they still had to fight to keep settlers off of it, so that didn't work out very well. What was the Three-Fifths Compromise? Remember, we said for every 5 enslaved people, 3 would count towards the state's population. Because remember, it's kind of not fair that slave owners say, we're not going to treat you like people, you're property, but yet we want you to count as people so we can have a higher population and get more say in the government. Remember, there's checks and balances. So if you think of a triangle, every side of the triangle is equal and has equal responsibilities. So one way that equal responsibility is the president can veto a law approved by Congress. So Congress can pass a law and the president can veto it. But if the president can't just veto it, if he does veto it, Congress can still get that law to pass if a certain number of people pass it again. I think I'm going to look and see if I can find a picture that says how many can pass it. Oh, let's see. So if the president vetoes a law, hold on one second. They can override a president veto. I can't find the exact number, but you can override a president veto. Sorry, I'm trying to flip through my book to find everything we need. So remember, we had the Virginia Plan, the New Jersey Plan, and then the Great Compromise, which combined them. So Virginia Plan wanted larger states to have more representatives. The New Jersey Plan wanted equal population or equal state representation no matter the population. And the Great Compromise had 2 houses. One was equal representation for every house, which would be for every state, which would be the Senate. So every state gets 2 senators. And the other one would be Congress, the House of Representatives, which gives you delegates based on your population. So not bigger in size. So Alaska's huge, but it doesn't have that many people. Biggest by population, you get more delegates. See if there's any other things I want to review before we start learning more. A lot of people, anti-federalists, anti means against, so anti-federalists didn't want a federal government, and they thought the government was too strong. Remember, they didn't want another king. That's why they didn't want the strong government. But remember, the Bill of Rights helped that because the Federalists included that, so the anti-federalists understood that states also had power along with the federal government. The Bill of Rights protects citizens' basic rights. By 1790, all 13 states had ratified the Constitution. Some different things we have. So we have the National Guard, and they ensure domestic tranquility. They help at home right now. The National Guard's helping a lot in New York and different states hit hard by coronavirus. The armed forces, they provide for the common defense. They're going to fight other countries. And Social Security is something that we pay into and you get when you retire and you're older, and that promotes the general welfare. So remember, we have the judicial branch, which judges if laws follow the Constitution. And we have the preamble says the government provides a safe and peaceful and fair way of life for citizens. So we just kind of learned why America is America. We learned all of those things that help us run smoothly. And all of those things we still talk about today with the whole impeachment trial. I mean, that really went back with that checks and balances. With this coronavirus, like who gets more say, the state or the states or the federal government? So all of that still ties into what we're learning today. So hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're still watching CNN 10 to give you lots of more information. Bye.